The Ottawa Senators found a reliable defenseman out of Finland last offseason, 2 years ago, actually. And last season didn't get any opportunity really to prove that he was an NHL defenseman. We were almost surprised when Nikolas Matinpalo re-signed in the 2024 offseason on a 1-year contract, and he made the most of it. Nikolas Matinpalo has re-signed with the Ottawa Senators on a 2-year deal where he makes $875,000 per season. What were your thoughts when you saw the announcement yesterday?
Loved it, Ross. Tidy piece of business by Steve Staios. Just getting that done. That's what, if I was a general manager, Ross, I would do the same thing. First day you're knocked out of the playoffs, let me get one nice contract done. Check that off my list. Lean back a little and then start working on some of the other ones here. But this is a great deal for both sides, in my opinion. You get 2 years, so that's some stability for Nikolas Matinpalo. Feels like he can settle in a little bit in Ottawa. You only give him $100,000 extra in AAV, but for Matinpalo, that's one-way money. So even if, let's say, he's a 6th, 7th defenseman or ends up getting sent down, he knows he's going to get that money. He's in a good spot with Tyler Kleven, who he's played with in Belleville and in Ottawa, so he knows he's at least got an opportunity, or at least is the front runner for that 6th spot and right-hand shot defenseman on the 3rd pair. And he's getting more experience going over the Worlds now. He was in the Four Nation Face-Off as well. So I think this is a player you want to keep around.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal contract for Steve Staios, I believe. He's a guy who came into his own, especially after getting that late add to the Finland Four Nations roster, made his presence known there. Like, this guy was riding the bus in Belleville to start this season, and then he's playing out on the same ice surface as Sasha Barkov and Mikko Rantanen. Just the experience and saying, like, look, I can hang with these guys. I think that did him a lot. And you look at how a 3rd pair is constructed in the National Hockey League, and I love the idea of having 2 big, rangy players who don't give up a lot to the middle of the ice, and him and Kleven just found a groove throughout the second half of the season. So I was really excited with the progression that Matinpalo made. He even had a couple plays where he would like drive in from the point and try to make a play. So look, he's not a young prospect by any means, but I do think that there's still some development left for Matinpalo's game. He'll be 27 years old at the start of next season. So you're getting a guy's prime years at a very valuable cost of under $900K. He's only getting a $100,000 raise from what he made last season. With the cap going up, percentage-wise, it's probably very similar. In 41 games, he had 1 goal, 3 assists for 4 points, was a -2, only averaged 12 minutes and 37 seconds per contest. But if you go through and how his year unfolded, he became more and more important. In the first 3 months, that average time on ice was closer to 11 minutes, and then it was closer to 13 and a half through the final 22 games that he played. Had all 4 of his points in those final 22 games as well. So it was a situation that just kind of developed for him. He's clearly comfortable with the organization, and I think that it's a good piece of cost certainty going forward. I also think it signals all but the end for Travis Hamonic in Ottawa, because as we discussed earlier with our offseason checklist, this, in a perfect world, is a 7th defenseman contract that can come in and play half the season to 3/4 of the season and give you solid minutes in that.
Yeah, and I think in regards to Travis Hamonic, fans have their opinion of where his play is at, and that's fine. But it is important to note he did seem like a guy that fit in this locker room. The coaching staff obviously trust him. But with his end of season presser, Ross, it kind of seemed like even he knew a little bit that the writing was on the wall, that he wasn't going to stick around here. I'm sure he'll find a spot somewhere else, but I just think it is time for him and the team to move on. And Matinpalo is the perfect 6/7th defenseman for this team at a great price, great age, no-brainer deal, in my opinion.
I was starting to get ahead of Thursday's show of projecting our RFA contracts, and I realized that anything under $1 million for Matinpalo, I would have been very happy with. So to get the 2-year term and under 900,000 even, that's a great deal. So good job, Steve Staios, on that. We'll see what Nikolas Matinpalo looks like in training camp next season. But soon you'll actually see him again. Nikolas Matinpalo is one of 2 Senators heading to the World Championships. Him and Shane Pinto will both take part. So Matinpalo, I mean, I don't think it's wild that we could see Nikolas Matinpalo in the Olympics. I know Finland was missing 3 defensemen at the 4 Nations, so he does have to jump more players to make that Olympic roster. But Team Finland clearly comfortable with him enough that they went back to him for the World Championships. And that to me is almost more impressive, Pilsy, because the 4 Nations was just an NHL tournament, whereas the NHLers, I think they only had 9 Finnish defensemen. But Team Finland could have easily just taken a guy from the Finnish Elite League or Sweden or one of the European leagues and had their deal done there. So good job for Matinpalo, a really solid developmental year for him. And now he's heading into his prime, signed for 2 seasons.